afternoon. It is 1:30, so we are going to call the Transportation and Environment Committee meeting to order. I'm going to give council members a couple more minutes. So before we begin, I want to remind committee members and members of the public to follow our code of conduct at meetings. This includes commenting only on the specific agenda item and addressing the full body, not individual council members or staff members. Public speakers will not engage in conversation with the chair, council members, board members, or staff. All members of the committee, staff, and public are expected to refrain from abusive language. Failure to comply with this code of conduct, which will disrupt, or impede the orderly conduct of this meeting, will result in removal from the meeting, which is in accordance with state law. Now we will come to order. Can the secretary please call the roll?
Foley? Aye. Here. Morales? Esparza? Here. Cohen?
Here.
Davis?
Here.
Quorum, thank you.
Thank you. And in item B, the review of the work plan, I don't see any items recommended to be added, dropped, or deferred. Is that all right with all of my committee members? All right, so we'll move on to item C, the consent calendar. There is one item on the consent calendar. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
One public speaker.
Okay.
Blair Beekman.
Hi, Blair Beacon here. I know you guys get upset with me when I bring up the ideas of accountability practices, but I think it's an important concept for downtown parking issues that if you want to address, the downtown parking board, who's always interested when I appear, if you want to, a friendly reminder that if you want to talk about accountability practices with technology, it's helpful in how to develop good community relations, and I think as ways to be of interest to people to want to visit the future of downtown. And just a friendly reminder that open policies and accountability practices makes for a more enjoyable process for everyone and understandable and clear. And that's why people will want to come to San Jose in the future and in downtown. Thank you.
Back to the committee.
Thank you. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Foley? Aye. Morales? Esparza?
Yes.
Cohen?
Aye.
Davis?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I only have one screen available to me today, so I'm not on Zoom. Can you let me know if Councilmember Esparza or if Councilmember Perales logs on and has their hand raised? Yes. Thank you. All right. We will move to item D1, reports to committee. We start with the Climate Smart San Jose Plan semi-annual report. Amanda, are you starting us off? Thank you.
Good afternoon, committee members and members of the public. My name is Amanda Leonis. I'm a supervising environmental services specialist in the Environmental Services Department of San Jose. And we'll be presenting today on our Climate Smart San Jose Plan semi-annual update. And I'll quickly introduce Kate Ann Ramses here.
Hello, Kate Ziemba, Senior Environmental Program Manager with the Community Energy Department.
Afternoon, Ramses Madhu, Division Manager, Planning, Policy and Sustainability for Department of Transportation.
Thank you both. All right, so today we're just going to go over some updates on our Climate Smart San Jose Plan, including some recent activities, what we've been up to in the community, and some programs and policies that we've been prioritizing. So since the adoption of the plan, which was approved in 2018, most of the work has been supported and funded through our American Cities Climate Challenge. However, that has concluded in June. So we are recently focused on our pathway to carbon neutrality by 2030, which was adopted by Council in June of this year. So that will focus primarily on building electrification and accelerating electrification in the community. So that will go forward. And here are some of our core activities. The city definitely made a significant investment to staffing in Climate Smart, which has really increased capacity to the program. In this table, you'll see some of our funding resources. The sources of the external funding that were received in the fiscal year of 21 and 22 included Federal Department of Energy funds, California Volunteers, California Recycles, the Public Utilities Commission, and the Office of Traffic Safety, as well as some philanthropic funds from the Guadalupe Coyote Resource Conservation District. And here are some highlights of some of the recent outreach and engagement that we've done. The second bullet here is our zero emissions neighborhood pilot. Those community meetings have been done in Council District 7. And we've just recently concluded our Go Green Team Leaders pilot program that supported 25 leaders in the community. And I'll go ahead and pass the slide to Kate.
Thank you. So this year, San Jose Clean Energy had 2 renewable energy projects producing electricity. They were completed at the end of last year. They are 225 megawatts of wind in New Mexico and 62 megawatts of firm renewable energy in Kern County. The Kern County project is very innovative. It delivers renewable energy from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. And for context, together, these 2 projects provide enough renewable energy to power 250,000 homes each year. We have more renewable energy projects that will be built over the next years, 100 megawatts of solar, up to 34 megawatts of geothermal, and 10 megawatts of short duration battery storage, and up to 45 megawatts of long duration storage are coming. And the geothermal and long duration storage will be key technologies to help us reach 100% renewable energy and carbon free, and help us meet more of peak demand with renewable energy. We also launched energy efficiency programs in September. These programs are funded by the California Public Utilities Commission, and the City Council allocated federal relief funds to expand the residential program. Our residential program offers 50 to 70% off highly efficient electric appliances like refrigerators, washers, and dryers. These are offered through Airport Home Appliance, and customers also get free delivery, installation, haul away, and a 5-year warranty. Also through the program, qualifying customers can get free smart thermostats and smart plugs. The program is open to 2 groups: moderate income single family households, and we define moderate income as between 200 to 400% of the federal poverty guidelines, which is about $55,000 to $111,000 per year for a family of 4, or any single family household located in disadvantaged communities as defined by the CPUC. We also have a business and schools program, which is open to all businesses and schools, but we're focused on targeting small, medium commercial customers like medical, dental offices, restaurants, convenience stores. And through the program, these customers can get 80 to 90% rebates to cover heating, HVAC, water heating, and refrigeration system upgrades. And then finally, we launched our Solar Access program last fall. This offers low-income customers a 20% bill discount, and they receive 100% solar energy from an array in Merced. And we have about 800 customers right now. It's been fully subscribed as of June, and we continue to maintain 100% participation. And then on the electric vehicle side, in 2020, we launched the Cali VIP project, the California Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Project in San Jose. It's a partnership with the California Energy Commission, and we invested $14 million to add new level 2 and direct current fast chargers at workplaces, apartments, and public places. And there, as of March 22, 52 level 2 and 11 direct current fast chargers are operational. And then we will come to council later with a fast charging hubs pilot project. Both of these items will come back to later in a different presentation, and so we'll take questions on those two then. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Ramses Madhu, Department of Transportation. This last reporting period, we also brought to you all in council the parking ordinance and transportation demand management update, which you all asked us to return to you by the end of the year with. And we're working busily on finishing that up. We also passed the citywide transportation plan, Move San Jose, which is giving us a very clear set of guidelines and metrics to make better decisions around which projects are best suited to reduce things like emissions. And lastly, the Transit First policy, which allows us or gives us, again, clear direction within DOT to design our streets in a complete street way and get us that much closer to making more people want to take transit within our city. All right.
Thank you both. This is Amanda again with ESD. And here are just some recent highlights on some programs and policies under Climate Smart. We are working on our building reach code update. This is an administrative update that is planning to go to council this month, October, with additional updates following some cost effectiveness studies coming this December. For an update on our natural gas infrastructure prohibition, there have been no distributed energy resource exemptions for fuel cells that have been requested or granted as of yet. And we will be returning to council next December of 23 with an update on that. And looking ahead for our next update, we recently awarded our Electrification Accelerator consultant Block Power. We're hoping to be launching in the first quarter of 2023. These programs will help with electrification community-wide. And below are some anticipated and upcoming council items in the next year. And thank you all. That concludes our presentation today.
Thank you. We'll go to the public first.
Blair, Blair, your microphone just disappeared. I'm not sure if it's disconnected. Oh, I can hear you.
I'm here. Great. Thank you. Hi, Beekman. Thanks for this item. It was a nice for different choices that we have this time. I think I felt it was an important for yourselves that in your memos that on this item you talk. This item, maybe the next item. I think maybe I should wait for the next item to go into details about sea level rise issues. This item just we recorded the fact that we're dealing with community energy and solar is interesting, and the ideas of solar farms have been questionable, but good luck in how your program with Merced can work out and deliver renewable energy to community. I guess, thank you. Always be wary that there's differences between clean energy and renewable energy, and that we have to consider that clean energy uses nuclear, and that nuclear should be a question for our future. I know for some it's a workable solution. For others, I hope, like myself, I hope we can still work towards choices of more of a renewable future as opposed to nuclear. Thank you.
Back to the committee.
Thank you. We'll go to my colleagues. Councilmember Cohen.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. As always, I like to hear the status of this important work. Just a couple of questions on the new. I see you just started in September with the rebate program for electric appliances and also for businesses and schools. What's the publicity going to be? How are we going to get the word out and recruit people to participate in that?
Sure. So for the residential program, we're first targeting outreach to customers in disadvantaged communities. And then probably starting next year, we'll reach out to customers who qualify based on income. That's just to make sure that we hit our targets with the California Public Utilities Commission. And so we're doing targeted communications like email, postcards to customers. And then we're partnering with community-based organizations who will be our boots on the ground approach, reaching the customers that they serve in their communities in the languages that their customers speak. And then on the small business or on the business program, we are in the process of doing a lot of presentations to local business districts. OED is partnering with us and helping us reach different districts and groups of and business groups. And we also have a marketing plan with more traditional tactics as well.
Great.
Through direct mail.
That sounds good. I look forward to getting updates as to how many people we end up being able to serve and convert as a result of that as this moves forward. One other question, the fuel cell exemption and natural gas, you said it's coming back at end of next year for an update. That update, that's the original expiration date is the end of 23, is that right?
I'm just going back to my notes really quickly. So that exemption actually is set to expire in January of 2025.
Oh, 25, so it's still
Yes.
another. So next one year when you say update, that's just an update as to
The exemptions.
whether there's been any exemptions, but the policy with the exemption is still in place for another year after that.
Correct.
And I believe we are anticipating coming back with recommendations
Mhm.
for the continuation of the exemption or not at that point, based on research.
Yes.
So we would make
December
a
23.
So we would make a decision at the end of next year about what happens in January 25, or maybe potentially changing the sunset date if we decide.
Correct, because it's a long lead item and people need to be able to make investment decisions. So we would think that bringing that choice back to you in the end of 2023 gives enough lead for the private sector to make those choices.
Okay, thank you. I'll move acceptance of the report.
Second.
Do you have any questions? No. Thank you. I want to thank you all for the report. I just following along on Councilmember Cohen's line of questioning about the residential program. So I recently bought a new refrigerator, and I think we were at Airport Appliance, but I'm wondering how the staff there has been trained, because no one asked us about, I mean, they asked us our zip code, but we might have qualified. We didn't, but someone like us might have come in and qualified, and they wouldn't necessarily know that just from the zip code. And they didn't ask us anything else to kind of tell us about this program. So what's the training for the staff at the store itself? I'm assuming that since we have partnered specifically with Airport Appliance, that just having a few locations, we might have a better chance of training their staff so that they can kind of help people into these programs and choose more efficient appliances.
Definitely. Training is top of mind for us, especially when there's a lot of high turnover, usually among salespeople. And so our program implementer, Franklin Energy, is really engaged with their management. And also, we are in the process of adding 2 big banners. We have a section in the store where all of the appliances are located together. And so we're really hoping that by having those large banners, that'll be a clue to customers as well as staff that this program is happening. And the salespeople have been instructed to make sure that people qualify for the program in order to get that discount code and can help them through the process while they're in the store.
Okay. And are you sending emails to residences in addition to putting something in the bill? And also, have you given us copy to put into our newsletters? We're happy to do that.
Thank you. Yes, we're in the process of pulling that together. And yes, an email and also a postcard.
Okay. 'Cause I get the San Jose Clean Energy emails, but I don't ever look at my bill inserts because everything's online. And so I'm guessing a lot of people, yeah, are the same. And then thank you for that. I appreciate it. And then on the issue of the chargers, I just read, and I think it was in yesterday's paper, about the ability to be able to have a level 2 charger without upgrading your box. It's some app-based solution that's being tested right now, and I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't know if you guys have also heard about it. Ramses is okay. You were nodding your head like you had heard about this.
I'm skeptical is actually what it
So,
was. Yeah.
so the idea is there's some kind of solution that's between the charger and your box, your utility box, and that it knows when the box is going to be overloaded, so it shuts off the charger. And it's also, I can't remember all of the details because I read the whole Sunday paper yesterday, but there was something else about being able to it being able to be used in multifamily charging situations to know which person to charge for the charging, for the electricity. So something I just wanted to throw out there when you were talking about chargers, and we had talked about how difficult it would be to upgrade boxes for people that's a barrier to having a level 2 charger in households. And so this is a possible way of getting around that, where you can still charge because you're not using your dryer at midnight, and that you wouldn't necessarily have to upgrade your box. So I just wanted to put that out there for you. All right. Any other comments from my colleagues?
I'll just piggyback on that a little bit. I had a conversation with, what are they called? The company that does, Boost, who does portable gas filling, about potential future portable electric charging. I just wanted to know what kind of conversations you might be having and what we think about that type of future.
That's interesting. There was a startup about 10 years ago at Stanford when I worked there that did that. And what they would do is buy old leaf batteries and then turn them into these portable robots that they were using. They ended up becoming generators on movie sets instead of for cars because they couldn't really make enough money on the cars. But yeah, I mean, like Boost is interesting, right? They actually go around, fill people's gas tanks. Is the economy of scale in terms of being able to get somebody out there? It takes 5 to 10 minutes at most to gas somebody's car. Can take an hour or more, 3 to 6 hours on electric vehicles. Getting DC fast charging in a mobile unit can be kind of hard. So it'll be interesting to see if the economy of scale works out for companies that are trying something like that. But we're not having any direct conversations with companies like that, but we're always aware.
Yeah, I was just trying to think about solutions like that for the apartment complexes that aren't going to necessarily be able to install enough chargers, and as more and more people need to charge, if we had a solution of some kind of, it didn't require hard infrastructure, or maybe the vehicle that does the charging is an intermediate between a single DC station inside the garage of a building, but they can use the truck to sort of get the power to various vehicles at the same time or something like that.
Yeah, we're looking at as many creative solutions as possible, and the state is pushing a lot more legislation to kind of force everybody to move along with it. But I think actually what Councilmember Davis is bringing up, the kind of what we call multiplexing, where they can actually use one circuit
right.
and can be used by various different endpoints, is one of the most tried ways of doing that, and that's a lot of what we see coming in.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're ready for the vote.
Foley? Aye.
Esparza,
Yes.
Cohen,
Aye.
Davis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item D2, City Initiatives Roadmap, Resilient and Sustainable City Infrastructure and Emergency Preparedness Enterprise Priority Overview Report. Kip.
I gave you the mouthful. I'll take the first part of it. Kip Harkness, Deputy City Manager, and I have with me the team, some of the team coming down to help me with the presentation, but we'll get started with it. And I just want to start with this visual, which I found very arresting, which is an animation that covers the climate since about 1890 to about now. And what you'll see is the green circle is the average climate. Anything short of the green circle and in white or blue is less, and it's going around years now, and giving you a sense of year by year what the temperatures were globally. And as you can see, as we're going through the 1920s here, we're about at average temperatures are a little bit cooler. And then as we get into the 30s and 40s, a little bit of warming up here and a little bit of cooling down. There's always variations in weather and year-to-year variations in climate that are significant. So it's important not to overdraw on any one year or so. But I think what's interesting now that we're in the 80s is you start to see quite a lot get into the outer ring. And I'll let it speak for itself as we get into the 2000s. And so you can see that while there is variation, there is certainly directionality. And there's a lot more evidence than this one graph, but I thought this was pretty remarkable to see some of the change that's taken place, not only historically, but certainly within our lifetimes and certainly within our professional careers. And on the next slide, you see, of course, what we think the main reason why is. There's a really tight correlation between the global carbon dioxide emissions and other greenhouse gases and the global average temperature changes that we're seeing. So this sets the stage for what we're going to talk about today and the work that we're going to do here today as a team. As I say to people, last time I checked, we only have the one planet. And one thing that's clear about that is in all sorts of different ways, we are overshooting or in danger of overshooting the capacity of the planet. You see here 3 of those ways. There are probably about 12. 3 that are most relevant to us as a city: climate change, freshwater withdrawals, and land conservation. Solving that problem would be hard enough, but we also need to think about people. And at the same time that we're overshooting for the planet, we are undershooting and have shortfalls for people, providing them enough clean energy, providing social equity, access to water, and housing are ones that affect our city as examples. And so I take this notion from Kate Rayworth, Donut Economics, which is we have to solve both of these problems simultaneously, both the overshoot of our planet's capacity and the shortfalls on people, which means we've got this kind of narrow space, this safe and just space for humanity, which is a space that we need to work in to create what she describes as a regenerative and distributive economy. So taking that as sort of a point of departure, what do we need to do as a city to shift our thinking to begin to address the future that we are actually in already? We think there are 3 important shifts. One is a shift in mindset, away from departmental or individual district thinking to larger systems thinking and how things are interconnected. A shift away from shorter term tactics to longer term future action, and a realization that past is no longer prologue. And just as I pointed out with the graph in the beginning, if you assume that past temperatures are going to be the same, you're going to be wrong. If you assume that the rainfall patterns or the hurricane patterns are going to be the same as they were in the past, you're going to be wrong. What was once a 1,000-year flood is now a 100-year flood or even a 50-year flood. We're also going to need to expand our thinking beyond simply sustainability and to go to adaptation. We heard just a few moments ago the great work of our Climate Smart team, which is focused on decarbonization and mitigating climate change by removing greenhouse gases. But even if we're completely successful there, decarbonization has and suffers from a free rider tragedy of the commons problem from an economic point of view. And even if we're completely successful and everybody else goes along with us, we are already facing the results of climate change. We see them today in San Jose. And then the third thing that we're going to have to do is to be bold and innovative in our approach to funding and securing the large and ongoing amounts of funding that are going to be needed to both upgrade and maintain the capital infrastructure required to deal with climate change. So we pose ourselves, out of all of this, what should we focus on? And we think there are four kind of interrelated questions that need to be answered in the affirmative and to determine our focus. First are the two that were posed by the donut economics, what makes sense for the planet and what makes sense for people. The other two are, we have to ask and answer for ourselves, what's core to what we as a city can and should do? We're limited in our scope, we're limited in our geography, and we should focus on those things which are core and vital to us and for which we are best placed to make a change. And then the last one is, what can we do that's transformative, or at least has a high return on investment, where our smallest amount of effort can have the highest reward. And so that focus area, as we've done the analysis, we believe is illustrated by this next slide, which has 5 key objectives in this enterprise priority. Disaster ready and climate smart, and we're deliberately pairing those two together because in some ways the climate change is nothing more than a very slow burn, a natural disaster. Infrastructure resilience, which means dealing with both our aging infrastructure and building out the infrastructure we need for the future. And then specifically clean energy resilience, which you've heard some about earlier. Water resilience, where in the California environment, water supply is always precarious and important. And finally, giving back through natural environmental restoration. Under each of these 5, you see between 2 to 4 work streams for a total of 18 different work streams, which we believe are the priorities that we should focus on, certainly for this fiscal year and realistically over the next 2 to 3 years. You also see with each of those a name of a leader attached who is not alone, but heading up a team of people, sometimes an established team, sometimes a new team, to begin to deal with and address these opportunities and challenges. So today we're going to take a slightly deeper dive and share with you a little bit of a postcard in 3 of these different work streams. The reality is they're at very different levels of maturity, all the way from fully in place and moving along swiftly, like our rebuild of our regional wastewater facility, which you'll hear David Olson talk about in just a moment, to looking at our electrical vehicle charging, which we've actually have 3 different groups which have been working on those, and we're bringing those groups together, a lot of energy, sorry about the pun, to come up with an approach to vehicle charging. I'm glad got the attorney to laugh. That ought to be count for something. And then the last one is an issue that we have a lot of data on and have known a lot about, but we don't have a good approach to yet. And so this is more early in the team formation, and it's going to require more strategic thought, thinking, and effort on all of our part to solve. So we want to give you a little bit of a postcard, and you'll hear from Matthew Nguyen on this one as well, and Kate Ziemba on the electrical vehicle charging. So without further ado, I want to take you into each one of these for a moment, and then we'll come back to the team and look at how we're going to be driving change and implementation over the year. So I think we're starting with our regional wastewater facility, and I'm inviting, it looks like I've got, yes, I do have David Olson in the back who's going to take us on that. Okay.
Good afternoon, David Olson, Environmental Services. And so over the past 8 years, we've invested more than $430 million and achieved substantial completion on 24 major projects at the RWF, including the digester and thickener facilities upgrade and cogeneration facility projects. The CIP currently has 9 projects in construction with a total value of roughly $550 million. Significant projects include the new Headworks facility and our new dewatering facility. And over the next 3 years, we plan to award 8 major projects with a total project value of approximately $170 million. These will include projects to rehabilitate our secondary treatment areas and pipe systems. Collectively, these projects will rehabilitate critical process areas and infrastructure, increase reliability of liquids and solids treatment areas, and modernize the RWF.
Yeah, and this is really, in my mind, one of the coolest things that we're doing. I know that it doesn't get a lot of press necessarily, but boy, when you flush, you want it to work. And we have one of the most innovative and environmentally friendly ways of doing that at scale, the largest regional wastewater facility west of the Mississippi. And as I think many of you know, when they get done with these innovations, we're going to be able to take that sludge in-house, transform it into valuable fertilizer and other products, and give back to the environment and other uses several hundred acres of land out of the regional wastewater facility. So truly an amazing project, obviously ongoing for a number of years and still going on for a number of years to come, but we wanted to highlight it here as it's one of our top initiatives in this area. So thank you, David, and the whole team on that one. Next, we're going to turn to electrical vehicle charging infrastructure, which we talked a little bit about before, and back to Kate on this one.
Hello, Kate Siemba, Community Energy Department. So as Kip mentioned, many departments are working on electric vehicle charging infrastructure, including Community Energy Department, Public Works, and Department of Transportation. So I'll start with some of the projects the Community Energy Department is working on, then pass to Walter, who will discuss the charging needs of the city fleet. We'll pass it to Ramses to discuss DOT's charging initiatives. To start, in 2020, SJC partnered with the California Energy Commission to invest $14 million through the Cali VIP project into charging in the city. These chargers have started coming online and will continue to come online in the next few years, and 39% will be installed in low-income and disadvantaged communities. So Cali V will help meet some of the EV charging needs in San Jose, but EV adoption in San Jose is very high, and we expect it to grow rapidly over the next years. Between April and June this year, approximately 30% of new car registrations in San Jose were electric or plug-in hybrid, probably in response to high gas prices. And in addition, in August, the California Air Resources Board voted to require that 100% of new car sales be electric by 2035. The Federal Inflation Reduction Act revamped the federal tax credits for electric vehicles, and for the first time is offering a tax credit for used EVs. And so during this transition to EVs, the Community Energy Department is very focused on two things. First is equity and access to charging. Our low-income communities have low levels of EV infrastructure and therefore low adoption. And so we refer to these areas as charging deserts. We're also paying attention to when customers charge. So right now, a lot of charging happens overnight, and this is because most EV drivers live in single-family homes and are able to plug in their car overnight. But it's essential that we try to move as much of this charging to the middle of the day. And that's when solar is abundant on the grid, and shifting charging will help grid reliability and also helped move San Jose closer to its carbon neutrality goals. And so the Community Energy Department is looking at tools that can incentivize middle of the day charging. One of the things we're looking at is we're conducting a feasibility analysis for a fast charging hubs pilot. And so the project involves 1 to 3 hubs that would be sited at city-owned or private properties in low-income communities. And this would be an opportunity for us to market test different pricing structures that incentivize middle-of-the-day charging, such as unlimited charging subscriptions from 10 to 2 or discounts for low-income drivers. And we hope that this would also provide a reliable and cost-effective way for people in the surrounding neighborhoods who might live in apartments and may lack access to charging to be able to adopt an EV and charge their car. So this feasibility analysis will go to council on November 15th. And if approved, the hubs would be installed in 12 to 18 months. And then finally, this fall, a Fuse Fellow will join the team to conduct market research to understand how much the private sector will be investing in EV charging, including in low-income neighborhoods over the coming years, and what the role is for the city in EV charging. And the fellow will develop a strategic plan for the city for EV infrastructure and an implementation framework. Now I'll pass it to Walter.
Great, thank you so much, Kate, and thank you, Kip, as well. Chair Davis and members of the committee and members of the public, I'm Walter Lin. I'm the Deputy Director for the Public Works Department. I'll be sharing some higher level updates in regards to the city's municipal electric vehicle program. Within our current fleet inventory, we have 268 vehicles that are either fully electric or a hybrid. Of the 268, 150 are fully electric and 15 are plug-in hybrids, with another 118 that are non-plug-in hybrids. That number equates to about 11% of our total citywide fleet. We are working towards enhancing the number of vehicles as well as the number of charging stations that we have available for those vehicles within our city facilities. Currently, we do have 246 charging ports within city facilities for these vehicles, enough for what we have right now and for the near future in terms of the growth of our inventory. However, we know that with the popularity and as well as with legislation that is coming down the pipeline, with manufacturers not being able to sell newer vehicles by 2035 unless they're all electric, we are planning for the future now. So within the next 12 to 13 years, we're looking at how do we establish policies and procedures as well as budget and scoping for that future growth. Currently, we have adjusted our vehicle replacement policy, which has relaxed some of the age and vehicle mileage requirements in order to make it a little bit faster for us to switch out older vehicles, make them retirement eligible so we can buy newer vehicles with that electric first option at first if it's available on the market. In addition, we are working towards amending and modifying the green vehicle policy within the city. We're coupling that with some of the other policy amendments that we do have that is slated within the auditor's report as well, and that'll be within this quarter in this year. And finally, we are looking at the assessing the electrical capacity of our facilities as well for more charging infrastructure. We want to make sure that we are reviewing in terms of what we have currently in place, what we can add from a charging inventory volume standpoint where we're not blowing out circuits, and then looking at that scope and that budget estimate, what will it take for a progressive phase-in of additional chargers within our city facilities, not just for our municipal fleet. We know that our staff base, as well as customers and residents, they're buying more electric vehicles on their own, and we want to make sure that we're meeting that demand also. With that, I'm going to ask Ramsey to provide more updates on the DOT initiatives.
Thank you, Walter. Ramses from Department of Transportation. If you remember, back in January 2020, Council adopted a electric mobility roadmap that DOT helped devise and has been working with all the departments here and some to bring forward. Under that plan, a lot of work got done in a lot of different areas. I won't go over all of it, but touch on a couple elements and then talk about where we're going. So first, we did work on things like streamlining permitting for folks to install new EV charging, both in terms of in our own properties as well as theirs. So trying to get things like Tesla and things like that into our own sites. We also got, sorry, let me jump ahead there. We also got the shared EV policy in place and are now looking at developing a shared EV pilot in the communities to the east in East San Jose. And then we also got the shared electric mobility elements put in. So we got our scooters and all of that on the road and worked on making sure there was some equity considerations and costs for folks using those. And lastly, we did a lot of education, in particular ride and drives with lower income communities, as well as dealer education. So trying to make sure dealers in the area are getting a good sense of what incentives are out there for their own customers and all that. I'm sure they're getting a lot more education right now, considering what just happened with the 2035 rule. At the moment, we are pushing ahead with some further actions, digging in really deep into this electric mobility, electric vehicle pilot for communities, and that includes things like a further e-bike loaning program, EV car share. We're seeing a lot of communities like LA and Indianapolis produce some pretty nice programs. We're also looking at a neighborhood shuttle program using electric vehicles, potentially autonomous. Let's see. And all of those, what's interesting about all of those is all of them would bring in new infrastructure into the communities along with them, right? So we're not only building these programs, we're building some of that infrastructure along with it. We've also got some policy initiatives underway and further kind of research So we're looking at auto shops as well as De Anza College for what are the skills that are needed. So this is economic development as well as making sure people's cars can get fixed when they get broken. And one of the policies we're really starting to dig our teeth into is how do gas stations play a role in this change, right? We have a lot of equity issues in terms of the distribution of these and access to charging. And gas stations are very well spread throughout the city already. And if they can play a role as a geographic element there, that's really great. But there's a lot of complication. There's a lot of margins are thin at the end of the line there. And so having them put new things in is very costly. So we're trying to figure out how to balance that. And lastly, we're spending a lot of time in the grant space. We just submitted for the Transformative Climate Communities support actually for that neighborhood work that we're talking about with the e-bike share and the car share. And we're doing a lot of research in the grant space. There's immense amounts of money coming both from state and feds. Fed money isn't really defined that well yet. It's still finding its way through the rulemaking. So we're keeping really careful track of that. And with that, I'll pass it back.
So you can see this is an area we've led for a very long time. I was recalling that when I was a city management fellow in 1998, we actually had RAV4s that were electric, and that was the way that I got around the city. We were a little bit ahead of the game. This time, I think we're right in the right place this time, but it is extremely complicated, which is the reason we'll be bringing on board the Fuse Fellow to help take our strategy to the next level to see where the private sector is so we don't duplicate, and ideally we can facilitate. And now our third kind of postcard on infrastructure will be with Matthew and taking a look at the infrastructure backlog.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Nguyen. I'm Deputy Director for Public Works. And as Kip mentioned earlier, this is the area where we still have, we still need a lot of support, and also we need some funding. So it started with about 15 years ago in 2007. All city department got together and prepared our first citywide deferred maintenance and backlog report. At the time, the total backlog was identified at about $900 million. And this is based on just whatever backlog or issues that each department has on their book. And as time goes by, each department start to conduct their own condition assessment. And they try to figure out what is the true cost of the backlog for each of the program that they run. And as of April this year, in the latest backlog report that we had, the total backlog is now $1.7 billion. So it's a big growth since the first time we started it. So over the next few years, staff will continue to refine their estimate, and so that we can have a better look at our system. And at this time, we are planning for another inter-department coordination effort, so that we can sit together, evaluate the backlog, prioritize the issue, and also identify the path to seek for additional funding to support each program.
Thank you. And this really is one of the head scratchers that we're going to have to get our hands around. You know, it's natural the way humans are wired to look at new projects and to be excited about them. We need to figure out kind of how to get us excited about maintaining what we have, because deterioration of infrastructure isn't just linear. It's ultimately exponential, and there are tipping point effects. So that if we don't catch up with this, we will be falling farther and farther behind as we go. So these are 3 examples of the 18 different work streams that we've got and we're bringing together with the team. And this provides a screen here provides a framework on how we're going to be kind of holding and managing the team and moving the work forward. So to talk about that in a little more detail, I want to invite my colleague Erica Garafo to introduce herself and talk a little bit about how we're going to approach delivery and team building.
Thank you, Kip. Good afternoon, committee chair, council members, and members of the public. Erica Garafo, lead resilience strategist. So as Kip mentioned, before I jump into the slides, a little bit of an introduction. So although I just started this job, this role about a month and a half ago, but I've been with the city for about 10 years. most recently as the business process automation lead for the IT department, where I was leading the city's transformation from paper to digital automated workflows. My background is actually in industrial engineering and public policy, so I'm drawn to work where I can leverage my experience and improve city services for the future. During the pandemic, I was activated as the assistant to the EOC director, and before that, I was with the Office of Civic Innovation, pioneering the use of objectives as measured by key results, or OKRs. As a city, we're becoming more well-versed in the OKR approach, but back in 2018, it was just me and Kip with this crazy notion that what worked for tech companies might work for the city of San Jose. So now we're applying this same methodology, OKRs, to commit, track, and hold ourselves accountable for a prioritized set of deliverables in this enterprise priority. We have found that OKRs are effective at driving delivery, and they're a really great way to build up a team. We have 18 work streams across 5 objectives, and we're using OKRs to create space for teams to do this work and own the results that they're delivering. So the next 5 slides list the annual goals for each of the 18 work streams. I'll highlight just a sample, but if you have questions about any of the others, please feel free to ask and we can go into detail. So first, under the disaster ready and climate smart objective, in the second one there, seismically safe soft story apartments workstream, the team, which is led by Lisa Joyner, will create a soft story structures inventory, bring an ordinance for mandating soft story retrofits to council, and identify funding mechanisms to assist property owners with financing those retrofits by the end of the fiscal year. Under the infrastructure resilience objective, under the last work stream, seek new state and federal funding policy. This work stream is led by Zane Barnes. Zane's team plans to evaluate funding streams for existing and future infrastructure needs, working collaboratively and creatively with city departments in resolving infrastructure funding gaps, and they also plan to secure new funding for projects identified in the city's strategic project list. Third objective is our clean energy resilience. You've heard a lot of that today. In the second work stream, downtown large project electrification, the team led by Jim Caldwell has committed to presenting a case study to City Council defining the benefits and risks of creating a municipal utility to serve new development. I think you guys heard this a couple weeks ago in a study session. And then based on that council direction, we'll form a municipal utility to serve new development recommended to council. Under the fourth objective, water resilience, the second work stream down, create new water supply opportunities work stream. This is being led by Jeff Provenzano, and the team has committed to lead a recruitment of a Fuse Fellow and a principal engineer, begin water supply strategy efforts, and explore funding strategies to increase recycled water use. This work stream also aligns with the direction outlined by the mayor at the State of the City. And then lastly, under our natural environment restoration objective, the first work stream you see there, restore the urban tree canopy work. This is being led by Rick Scott. Rick and his team will be hiring newly budgeted staff to increase program capacity, develop an efficient tree planting and maintenance program to plant up to 2,000 trees, and maintain 1/12 of the city-owned inventory annually. And the team plans to establish a community forest advisory committee to guide urban forestry improvements before the end of the fiscal year. And I'll turn it back to Kip to bring us home.
Thank you, Erica. And so this is a new enterprise priority, really only getting formal authorization from council on end of June. So we started first budget July 1. And so this is the new priorities, the new objectives, and the new team. We wanted to bring this forward to you, and we'll be bringing forward a general update every a couple of times, probably every quarter or so to the committee to give you a chance to react to this, to provide feedback, and to guide us as we begin implementation of this new priority. And with that, on behalf of the team, I say thank you and hand it over to you for any questions, comment, or feedback that you might have.
Thank you. We'll go to the public first.
We'll call our in-person speaker first, David Lewis.
Thank you, Chair Davis and council members. I'm David Lewis, the Executive Director at Save the Bay. And we really welcome this high priority planning effort and all the staff work behind it. The focus on resilience and adaptation to climate change is an essential companion to the city's climate smart San Jose plan. You have our letter, and I just wanted to highlight a few of our comments. You're all familiar with the threats from climate change that are increasing over time. And at Save the Bay, we've been working to ensure that Bay Area communities are resilient to the impacts of climate change by supporting nature-based solutions in particular that both protect communities and protect the Bay. And while for decades we've been focused on the Bay shoreline, increasingly we've been focused inland and upstream, both because that's where water comes from, down to the Bay, and it's also where we have some of the greatest opportunities to make progress, some of which have been outlined for you today. I think the main thing that I want to highlight is that every infrastructure upgrade is a potential opportunity for the city to address climate and environmental hazards with nature-based solutions and to prioritize underinvested communities most at risk from the impacts of climate change in decision-making and planning. And as you know, there are parts of the city of San Jose that historically have been under-resourced in this area, and those are some of the places that face the greatest risk from climate impacts. As one example, green stormwater infrastructure that uses ecological processes to manage floodwater and remove pollution from runoff into the Bay. This green infrastructure can be incorporated into many street redesign projects, adding flood management, pollution prevention, and heat reduction benefits to the other benefits of a complete streets redesign or utility upgrade.
Time.
The additional
Time.
Thank you, David.
Blair Beekman.
Thank you for the words of David Lewis. It's always really nice to hear him when he speaks at public comment time. I guess first a thank you that, you know, for this sort of item that San Jose has taken a particular interest in how to work on. I think since the floods of 2016 or 2017, San Jose has really very nicely the past few years worked on the concepts of disaster preparedness that not only could mitigate any possible future natural disasters, say next year, as I worry about, but help long-term questions of how we can address health and human services and racial equity to address that can be included in the concepts of how to address natural disaster preparedness practices also. I think San Jose has done like a model job for the Bay Area, how to describe to their public preparedness issues. Just very much of a thank you for that. With the words of David Lewis, I wanted to bring up a sensitive issue that as city government, you're having a difficult time talking about the issues of sea level rise that is basically affecting all of the Bay Area at this point, and it's going to grow worse. It's why you're rebuilding the wastewater treatment plant at this time. It's part of the factoring in it, and I think we really have to make the steps as these items of your you know, presentation speak to, that we have to learn how to be honest about sea level rise issues and how we're going to build the future housing in District 4. A sensitive topic. Good luck how to talk about this, make it an open, balanced subject with all the presentation.
Brian Darby.
Thank you. I appreciate the effort. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Just one thing real quick. If the sustainability and housing and all that is an emergency, then it needs to be treated like an emergency. They built Los Alamos in less than about 9 months, and they made it for 35,000 people, and it turned into a city. So, I mean, it's the possibilities are there. It just has to be treated as an emergency that it is. Climate change is a fact, more sure than evolution, and evolution is very much a fact. But there are people in our society that don't believe it's happening. If they could find another planet, fine, that's great. The one we live in now, in the universe we live in, we need to have mitigations for this. And it looks like you're heading the right direction. Thank you.
Back to the committee.
Thank you. Turn now to my colleagues. Councilmember Foley.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. Thank you for the report, really detailed and forward-thinking. Thank you for that. I do have a question about the comments regarding charging stations and charging during the daytime versus the nighttime. Can you address why that is beneficial and also address the cost? Because most people charge at night, not just because they're at home, but because the cost of charging drops down significantly because the load is as opposed to the daytime. So there's going to be a difficulty getting people to shift their thinking into charging in the daytime unless they can see a financial benefit. So can you address that a little bit?
Yes, thank you. Great question. So the reason why charging should shift to the middle of the day is because there's a lot of solar energy on the grid, you know, from the time the sun rises, 7 a.m., to when the sun sets. And at the same time, starting, 2 p.m. in the summer to 4 p.m. other times of the year, demand for energy really picks up. So, when it's hot, ACs turn on when people come home from work. And so there's this sweet spot in the middle of the day from 10 to 2 where demand is low and there's a lot of solar energy, so that charging can be powered with more renewable and carbon-free energy versus overnight when there isn't solar, there's less wind. If we were to continue to incentivize customers to charge overnight, then we would need to the state would need to spend hundreds of millions to add battery storage to meet that. And so it's just more cost effective to incentivize customer behavior to move it towards the middle of the day. And then you're right, customers are incentivized right now to charge overnight. That's when it's cheapest. And so it'll take utilities changing those off-peak times and, providing financial incentive to the middle of the day.
Yeah, just to add on that, you're absolutely right. Price is a huge incentive for almost everybody, and it should be. And part of what we're going to need to do is get that price incentive to align up with the green reality. Because in order to build out the directives that you all have given to us, and we'll hear more about this in the coming months when we bring the resource plan for community energy back to you all. Solar plus batteries works very well, but batteries are expensive and batteries are not a complete solution. So essentially what we're going to be in a situation where we have more energy than we need, if you will, in the middle of the day. And the more that we can shift the consumption to the middle of the day, the less we're going to have to buy on batteries, the less we're going to have to buy on gas, the less we're going to have to buy on other things to back it up. Ultimately, it'll be more stable for the grid, cheaper for us, and we need to make it cheaper for the consumer in order for them to be able to change their behavior in a way that fits the reality of the new green grid.
Thank you, and it's really the cheaper to the consumer that I'm thinking of, because the consumer will not make that shift unless it's cheaper to them, because they're counting their pennies as it is. And that's why they may be converting from gas-powered vehicles to EV-powered, because it's cheaper. You can drive by the gas stations and wave at all those people paying $5 and $6. I don't even know. I have an electric vehicle. I don't even know what it costs. But so it's that incentive. So how do we, or what do we have to do to lower the cost for the consumer in the daytime?
Yeah, and we'll be getting there strategically and bringing some information back to you on that in the coming months. And I was sort of half joking with Erica that we have two P's and I wanted to add a third. We had planet, people, and then the third one, of course, is pocketbook, right? And really, at the end of the day, both we have to pay for things, and that's a powerful motivator. So we need to get all three of those P's aligned so that the incentives work, not just because you care about the planet or care about the people, but because it matters in the pocketbook.
Right, great. Thank you. I think that was the only question I had. Oh, Ramses, I think you use this terminology that margins are thin for gas stations. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? What's the margin in someone installing an EV station? What's the profitability? What's the economics of that?
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Foley. What I was referring to is actually the folks who run gas stations, the actual owners at the end of the line. They don't make all the profit off gas. They make their money off of the candy and sodas and all that stuff that we used to buy inside their stores, which are slowly sinking, right? And so that's part of what I was talking about.
Okay.
And then there is a pretty big question as to whether you can make money off electrons, when you're charging cars. That's still up in the air.
Okay.
Right? And so there's some that kind of adds to that.
Okay. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Cohen?
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for this. This is pretty interesting how you've put kind of a holistic view on all of these items and put a focus on each of them. And I'm sure there's a lot for us to hear about over time because there's 18 boxes and we only heard about a small piece. So I look forward to that. One of my questions was going to be along the lines of Councilmember Foley's questions about charging at what time of day. Many of us have been trained to do things at night partly because it's cheaper, but also we were always told that nobody's doing anything at night. It's better for the grid to do it at night. And we're starting to hear it's better during the day, and I just want to understand that a little better. It seems to me that if there's excess capacity from solar, costs should follow. I mean, so, rates should go down during the times of day when there's excess energy on the grid. We're not there yet, though, right? They're still cheaper at night than during the day, or what is the current status?
Hello, yes, it is still cheaper for residential customers overnight. For commercial customers, there's a new super off-peak time during the middle of the day. So we just have to do that for residential.
We just have to get there for residential. Mm-hmm. So it's a question of cost, but it's also a question of doing the right thing for the environment, because if you're doing it at night, you're less likely to be using renewable sources. So when we're setting our it's not just EV charging, which I do at night from midnight to 6 a.m. That's my charging time. But also we set our washing machine and dishwasher to run during the night with the timers so that they run in the middle of the night because it's supposedly better. Everything we're doing has been programmed to that. So we need to think about how we educate people as to that's not necessarily the right thing to do. And if I knew that now that I do know better, that it's okay to run the washing machine during the day, we can sort of change our habits. I imagine the marginal cost to me is pennies, so I'm not worried about the fact that it's cheaper at night. But if it's not better for the environment to run it at night, then I wouldn't. But we have been. So how we educate people on that is important.
Agreed. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Quick question on the cogen at the wastewater treatment plant. I've asked this question before, but I always forget the answer. What fraction of the energy that's used at the plant comes from the cogeneration? Do you know?
I do not know the percentage right off the top of my head.
We're able to supply about 80% of our electrical needs at the regional wastewater facility from the electrical sources that we generate there at most times, which is pretty amazing at this point. So we've got a pretty massive power station up there that's running off of our methane and other gases that we produce.
Yeah, I've been in there with my earplugs. So
please wear the earplugs in there. OSHA would like you to do that as well.
So we're capturing 100% of the methane emissions and using it that way. Is there any?
Not 100%, but we're capturing and cleaning out a high percentage of them, and really quite efficient operation up there.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. And last, back to the Save the Bay question about green infrastructure. I've been very interested in how we're repaving our roads. We're doing all this work, but it's from a cost standpoint, it's really hard for us as we're quickly going through and repaving 100% of our roads, to rip out pavement and replace it with green strips and do all the things we should do. Is there money available now through the federal infrastructure bills and other places so we can begin to do some of that as we do this work?
Go ahead,
Ramses DOT. There's becoming more money. It's not commensurate to the task yet. Right, both federal and state folks are, especially at the state level, there was basically a mandate put on us to start going that direction, and it's not funded yet. So we're seeing more and more money go that way. But yeah, I mean, it costs a lot to redo streets, and as soon as you move a curb, it costs double. You know, and so it's a pretty expensive venture, but we totally agree. This is something we should be doing, and it actually helps, right? You put those green gutters in, guess what? That's that many more feet away from the cars that bikes and folks are walking, and that makes people bike and walk. And so it's a win-win, but it is very expensive, as you said, and there's no solution yet to that cost gap.
Okay. Is there? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Oh, and I think also it will be, we're going to have to use a number of different tools in the toolkit, right? Because what we have coming down the pike, which makes sense, is that there are some new regulations, particularly around PCBs, which are going to be coming into effect in terms of quality of water, which will affect individual residences and owners. And if we can get ahead of that and start thinking about that in a collective way, we can make investments in green infrastructure that makes sense to do at a larger scale. We were just out at River Oaks, some of us were just out at River Oaks pumping station, and they're going to take what was just simply an overflow station and turn it into a really great piece of green infrastructure that's also a park. So we were able to get some really good grant funding on that. So there really are opportunities for grant funding out there. There are a few more of them. They don't meet the need, but this is one of the reasons we put it in here as one of the 18 priorities, to try to figure out what is the strategy, not just to go after a grant, but to think holistically about each and every piece of infrastructure we do. Not every street can or should be a green street, but what are the ones that make sense, and how do we prioritize and fund them so that they work well when we do them? And that's the reason that it's here in number one of the 18. And I'm really excited about us thinking about kind of looking ahead to see what the regulations will require, and then coming back, because if we can do the planning now, we can do some at-scale investments that can save hopefully a lot of individual property owners money and might make sense to do. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself as usual.
Next time you're doing a visit of the River Oaks pumping station, let me know so I can join you up there in D4. Just to follow up on that, though, are we doing any pilot of some of these in a few places, or we haven't been unable to figure out how to do that?
We're certainly doing lots of installations, both in the roadway as well as larger projects like that, where you're really reforming larger infrastructure projects. So yeah, it's definitely happening. It's just we're doing a lot more work that could be aided by it, right?
Okay, thank you. I guess I'll move acceptance of the report.
Second.
Councilmember Esparza has her hand up.
Thank you. Councilmember Esparza?
Thanks. Just a couple of things. So on, as we look at our aging infrastructure, and we look at, and I don't just mean streets, but like everything, are we also looking at it in terms of how we would use our property for other things? And I'm thinking, for example, right before the COVID orders, we had a big meeting to talk about disasters and how we would use the buildings that we had to do that indoors, and then also outdoors. Some of our cities' outdoor facilities to use as shelter in a major earthquake. So as we fix our aging infrastructure, are we looking at the various uses of all of our buildings? And if we're going to be adapting a building or a park or a stadium or whatever, that certain other changes could be made that could make that building better used in a disaster.
Yes, absolutely. I'm getting a vigorous nod from both Ray Reardon and Walter Lynn, who's involved in some of this. We're specifically taking a look at the city's mass care and sheltering obligations, and also our other response priorities that we would have in the event of a flood or an earthquake or a wildfire, and looking at how we make those range of facilities, from community centers to other buildings, more resilient on everything from potential microgrids to other ways of strengthening them and preparing them. And there is actually some funding available. There's a BRIC, B-R-I-C, federal funding that we've gone after in the past, and we want to go after again in the future to bring down funding specifically as it relates to making some of these buildings more resilient. Walter, is there anything you want to add to that?
Thank you, Kip. And Councilmember Esparza, great question. Walter Lynn, Deputy Director of Public Works. As Kip had mentioned, we are looking at more like-for-like programming for efficiency and not to be inefficient with redundant programming. In particular, whether it is Measure T, public safety power shutdown, microgrid programs. We're looking at resiliency along with sustainability for those critical facilities, providing that essential service for the community, and seeing what is the need and how we can better align the programming together and talking to each other. All the different groups are managing those projects. How do we get the unified approach to it? So we are looking at efficiencies and non-redundancies, but in particular for those aggregate sites for the community, whether those are sheltering or local assistance centers, those are the ones that we are focusing on to ensure that those maintain that level of service during those emergency situations.
Okay,
As Skip
awesome.
mentioned, also pursuing funding assistance for those programs too.
Okay, awesome. That was my next question, was about power, to also include outdoors, because our outdoors golf courses and facilities, because in a major earthquake, people will be in various scenarios, people will be sheltering outdoors for a very long time. It's not going to be a few days or a few weeks. It could be much longer in a major earthquake. So, and if we're going to be using certain spaces as shelters, that affects power and all sorts of other things. So, okay, that's awesome. Thank you. And then I had just a request on the recharging stations. And the times, I have seen that the state is trying to message, particularly in the Bay Area. The Chronicle covered this, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, about how now the state's trying to change habits and get people to charge during the day. And are we going to align our messaging and our outreach with the state, since they're trying to get some messaging out there, number one? And then number two, the request is, I know this came up at council when we talked about charging stations in low-income communities. My office followed up and gave a list of suggestions, but I would like to continue to be engaged in that process for District 7. I'm assuming other council members would as well. Thanks.
Thank you, council member. For your first question, yes, we try to align our messaging with the state and also with PG&E, since our customers also are PG&E's customers for electric delivery, just to make sure there isn't confusion.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And on the second item, this item on the fast charging hubs will go to council on the November 15th.
And then I will ask the question of staff when the appropriate time is to come back with maybe a more nuanced discussion on pricing and when we think the prices will tip, because I do think that's the ultimate incentive. I don't want to betray the fact that I'm driven by my pocketbook, but I think it's the most important incentive for our consumers. And we'll ask which of the 7 different community energy memos that are coming back in the next few days, which is the appropriate one, maybe to discuss that a little bit and have people who know far more about it than I educate us.
Thanks. And I am interested in the charging stations. When this came up to council a while ago, we had looked at partnering with property owners and property managers in low-income communities. We had looked at shopping centers, and I'll say since then, at one of the shopping centers in District 7, that one that we had put forward, it's a Tesla charging station, and I think some education needs to continue to go out to the community. I'm interested in how we can get all those myriad of messages out. I know the state is heavily doing some heavy outreach and offering subsidies to reach middle and lower income buyers on the secondary market, on the secondhand market. And anyway, I just think there's a lot more to be done messaging wise and partnering with the community, but I am really interested in those charging stations and how that would work, because anyway, I'll leave that for offline. Thank you very much. That's it for me.
And we'll make sure that, and this is an open offer, that when the Fuse Fellow is on board, which I think they're being selected at this as we speak and will be hired in the next few weeks, part of their work, her or his work, will be to really, as Kate described, figure out what our strategy is so we don't duplicate where the private sector is going. And so we'll make sure that that Fuse Fellow has a chance to sit with you, council member, and hear your perspective pretty deeply. And anybody else who would like to spend time with the Fuse Fellow, they're interesting folks by definition, is welcome to it.
Thank you. I just have one comment. I'd like to request that, kind of following along with Councilmember Esparza's comments, that the next time we get an update on this item, that we talk about disaster preparedness. I see on here the plan for this year. One of the goals is update the current emergency operations plan and annexes. What's the timeline on that?
I'm going to ask Ray Reardon to step down and come down and speak to that directly. He's got a good set of OKRs internally that he's running this all
I'm
on.
sure he does.
And 9 different plans that he's updating, I think, something like that. Ray?
While still wrapping up the in progress emergency, I get it.
Yes, thank you for the question. Ray Reardon, Director of the Office of Emergency Management. Our goal is by the June to have new drafts of all the emergency operations plans so that we're ready and move things into the next fiscal year in operations and other additional training.
Okay, and so will that come to this committee, or is it?
It goes to the PISFIS. First, we have a disaster council it goes to, then it comes to city council for adoption.
Okay, great, thank you. That's it, right? Thanks. There was another, I can't remember what it was called, but there's some advisory council that's being formed, and I just.
For the forestry?
Yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about that because we have many advisory councils already, and I know that we have some trouble getting folks for those. So just wanted to ask if that's something that is going to be separate from our commissions right now. I don't know who's in charge of it, but or whether it's something that is going to be rolled into one of our current commissions.
I can't see who's on the Zoom, so I don't know if Rick Scott is with us on Zoom or anyone else from DOT. My understanding is that it is a separate group that they're pulling together with the idea of really getting advice on the strategy that they're putting together, not necessarily that it would be a forever commission.
Okay, got it. Good to know.
You can hear me.
Hey, John. Yep.
Yeah, hi, Director of Transportation. And Kip was right. It is going to be a standalone advisory commission that we're just about fully formed, and we should be able to kick it off soon. We're still looking for a couple of at-large community members, but otherwise we've got all the organizations identified, and it will be standalone and advise us on our go forward for all of the tree canopy issues that we have with the city.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then my only final comment is that I saw that Matthew Nguyen has 4 boxes here of the 18. So whatever we can do to make sure that Matthew is properly caffeinated and happy, I think will help this plan go forward in a efficient manner.
Yeah, we may be asking too much of Matthew, so you may have just given him a good plug to see if we could get him more support. But we'll take that under advisement and make sure he's fully caffeinated.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we have a lot of support, so thanks.
Good. I'm glad to hear that because I saw your 4 boxes aren't even all in the same categories. You're across 3 categories, so it looks like you've got a big chunk of this work that you're in charge of, and I just wanted to call that out. Let's make sure that Matthew seems to be a linchpin in this, so we need to make sure he's happy. All right, with that, I think we're ready for the vote.
Foley? Aye. Esparza?
Yes.
Cohen?
Aye.
Davis?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we will move on to open forum.
Blair Beekman?
Hi, Blair Beekman here. Thanks for the meeting today. Thanks for your patience with myself, trying to, hopefully you can mitigate my fears about potential natural disaster in 2023. And in some way, possibly mitigate overall natural disasters for 2023 by talking about it now, hopefully it could get sort of possible things in 23. Other than that, I hope we can have smooth sailing and things are going well with reports like you just offered. Thank you. What else I want to offer? Boy, I had a list of things and now I can't remember. I know that it's going to be important to me to want to continue to talk about accountability with technology practices, and to once again make clear. You're meeting a couple of weeks ago around ALPR issues. Flock reported they don't collect data at all, and that's not accurate. They do collect data for at least a 72-hour period. They get data and then give it back to City San Jose. I've understood also as a way of working. So it's questions we have to learn to line up better together as a community. I think we can work and create something interesting for our future by doing that. It's that they have created new civil protection ideas out of these sort of concerns in the past year. I think we can do the same. Good luck in those efforts. And I wish we could talk about the issue in Ukraine better. I've learned important lessons since the UN meetings this past few weeks. I still believe in concepts of peace before war. And good luck how we can work those sort of concepts. And thank you again for the meeting today.
Back to the committee.
Thank you. With that, we are adjourned.